All right, guys, today we are going to talk about choosing moments that are meaningful from our seed idea list that we generated yesterday. This is another step deeper into the brainstorming process, helping us get ready and get one step closer to creating our own personal narrative. So in front of you, you're going to need your writer's notebook today because you're going to need to be looking at the seed idea list that you generated yesterday during our writer's workshop. And if I were you, I would have something to write with and maybe even a marker or a highlighter or something to take notes with. You are going to need your writer's notebook today because you are going to be taking notes on what it means to have a meaningful moment. And all of the things that we are doing in Writer's Workshop today are building us up to be a good writer. So we are getting ready to really deep dive into a moment to be the best writers that we can. So we're getting detail from our memories, and we're really diving in deep to make sure that when we go to write, we're not just writing to tell people what happened in a moment. We're really writing to show them what happened in a moment. And especially with personal narratives, we know that many steps of the brainstorming process and the revision process are going to be a part of it. Good writing is meant to be pulled from you, from inside of you, and today is another step in doing that. We want to reveal something about us as writers through our writing, and so starting out with a personal narrative is a great way to do that. And our writer's notebook is going to be the best tool to help us take all of those things and create a really great piece of writing. So today we're going to talk about when a moment is meaningful. All of us created a great idea list yesterday of all moments that have happened in our lives, small moments. And now we're going to take that idea list, we're going to take those moments and really only focus on moments that were truly meaningful. So we know that a moment is meaningful when you could close your eyes and remember that moment in grand detail. It's almost as if you are transported back in time to when that moment in your life first happened. And as you close your eyes, that moment replays and you can almost relive it as you remember it. You remember how things looked. You remember how they smelled maybe, how something maybe tasted, or how your mouth felt. Maybe you were starving and your mouth was watering. Maybe you were nervous and your mouth was dry. You could remember the sounds around you. You could remember if the air was blowing past you and your hair was ruffled with the wind. You could remember as many details as possible just by closing your eyes and reliving this memory. A moment is meaningful when that moment changed you in some way. You know, you saw on my list yesterday that one of the really big moments in my life was when I found out that my cousin unexpectedly died. And I was changed, you guys. I was changed in that moment when the person who came to tell me he died walked through the door, and I knew by the look on her face that something had happened. I knew in that moment that something in my life had changed, which means that something inside of me had changed. You learn something from a memory when a moment is meaningful. You know, when I was adopted, the day that I was adopted and the moment that it all happened with my family around me, I learned that family wasn't always necessarily whose blood you shared or whose genes you shared. Suddenly all of these people around me who I didn't have any blood or genes that were related to me, all of a sudden they became my family. And I learned a lot about family in that moment. I learned a lot about what family was as opposed to what family was not in that moment. A moment is meaningful when you are deeply impacted by the moment. Maybe it's your first bike ride, or your first time catching a fish, or your first time in an airplane. Maybe it's the first time you skinned your knee. Maybe it's the first time you broke a bone. Maybe it's the first time you lost something that was really important to you. Maybe it was the first time you got in trouble for something. Maybe it was the first time you won an award for something. Maybe it was one of those firsts that really impacted you, that when you think about it, you can go back and go, man, that first meant something to me, and it impacted me greatly. A moment is meaningful when you have a strong emotion that is connected to that moment. Maybe that strong emotion is excitement, dread, fear, worry, love, silliness, happiness, sadness, something that really brings out something strong inside of you when you think about that moment. That's when a moment is strong. Now, you probably have heard me say different things in the past 5 minutes about your senses, what you see, hear, feel, smell, taste. Our 5 senses are used when we feel connected to something, even if you don't realize it. And so when we use our 5 senses to create meaning for a moment, that really helps us add those details that I was talking about with playing a movie in your mind. When a moment is memorable, you are transported back to that moment, and your 5 senses are used to help you remember that moment. Think about and look at the moments on your small moment list. Think about each moment and use your 5 senses to help you remember it. What did you see in that moment when you closed your eyes? What do you feel inside you about that particular memory? Do you smell the same smell from when that moment was happening? Do you hear anything in that moment? Did you taste anything? Maybe not necessarily food, but maybe you were helping your dad build something for the first time and you had that taste of sawdust in your mouth for days because there was so much sawdust around. When you go to expand on one of these moments from your list today, I want you to go back to this 5 senses slide and think about how your 5 senses can help you create those details that really help bring this moment to life. So, what makes a good small moment into a story? Well, when a good small moment is a good story, we know that it happens in one place at one time. It's not going from this city to that city to that city to this city to this month to that week to that day. We use those details that I was just talking to you about to stretch out that moment about your feelings about that moment. You show how you're feeling. You end in a really strong way. And it is a true story that happens in your life. Some of you are maybe struggling with how to connect that strong emotion to this memory that you maybe are going to choose to write about today. So I want you to come back and look at this strong feelings chart here and see if any of the strong feelings on this chart can help you better describe that memory. Elated, excited, happy, spectacular, embarrassed, frustrated, irritated, scared, shaky, grumpy, disappointed, shy, angry, and tired are some strong feelings that maybe go with one of the small moments you put on your list. So it's time to choose some small moments to expand on today. You're going to choose 3 of them. And you're going to know that this small moment is meaningful to you because it's going to be about someone who is important to you, or a place that's important to you, or something special that happened to you, or an object that you have or had that sparks something important. You're going to know that this small moment is a seed idea because it starts and ends all in the same spot. It's stretched out, it's true from your life, and most importantly, it shows how you're feeling. Our end in mind is to pull as much detail from you today as you expand on one of your small moments from your seed idea list to help begin to create a picture in your readers' minds. So now it's time to write. You've taken notes in your writer's notebook. Your seed idea list is in your writer's notebook. Now you're going to look at that seed idea list and you are going to choose 3 ideas from that list that you feel are meaningful to you now that you know what a meaningful memory is made up of. In your writer's notebook, you are going to brainstorm 3 different times, 1 brainstorm for each moment from that seed idea list that you just made. You're going to use this focus anchor chart right here to help you add as much detail from your moment as possible. So you're going to talk about, what did you learn from this experience? How did this experience change you? How do you behave or think differently now as a result of this experience? You're going to use these 3 questions to help you just generate some details and ideas about each of these specific seed ideas that you choose from. Remember, you're doing this 3 times. You are going to write as much as you can with as much detail as possible about each of those 3 moments that you choose from. Tomorrow we will decide what moment of these 3 that we will want to expand on, and maybe, just maybe, that will be the moment you write your personal narrative about. Here's an example for you of a way that you could continue brainstorming. If you are a mind mapper, you could choose one small moment and write it in the middle of this mind map here, and then you could fill the surrounding circles with thoughts and emotions or words or people or places or things that go with that small moment. If this is not something that fits you and you just want to write and write and write and write sentence after sentence or bulleted list after bulleted list as much as you can, that's fine too. Remember, you are choosing 3 seed ideas from your seed idea list that you made yesterday, and you are going to brainstorm approximately 5 minutes for each idea, as many and as much details as you can, so that by the end of your ELA time today, you will have 3 detailed writing entries in your writer's notebook about 3 memorable small moments that you have had in your life that we can talk about tomorrow, and maybe we can begin the writing process for our personal narrative about one of those seed ideas. Happy writing, and let's get started.